Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, as you can see from the Holman Studios in the garden level of our place. We're going to venture down towards Detroit right now. Glenn Stevens Jr., he's the Executive Director of MICHauto and Vice President of Automotive and Mobility Initiatives at the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce, and several other things too, I understand, that some of which are even legal. It is so good to see you. How you doing, Glenn?
Good to see you too, Chris. I appreciate the time today.
Well, it's always good to have you on. It's always good to get great updates. So, this time of year, we try to say, hey, what happened in 21? Let's take a look back. What were your highlights, bud?
Are we in 20 or 21? I'm not sure right now.
I'm not either.
I'll tell you, the calendar is hard to keep track of, and it's nice to run into people, but realize that you haven't seen some of them and many of them in 2 years. So I think that was one of the the highlights of this year was there was more in person, seeing people 3D and getting back together. But it was an interesting year. I mean, when you look at Michigan, when you look at the auto industry and the mobility industry, I would say that it was a very big year of transition across a lot of different factors.
So when you're talking about transition, are you talking positively? Because we're
Sure.
hearing a lot of from 20 to 21 was pretty exponential leap.
Yes, I think there are a lot of positives. And I think just recently, when you look at what's gone through the legislature, together with the administration and the business community regarding the economic development incentive packages, I think that's a really good sign. Some tools that Michigan needed, but I really think that the collaboration that came out of it was really one of the positives. So I've seen that occur throughout the year. The auto industry itself still fought the microchip issue, had many other issues on the supply chain come up, magnesium shortages being one of the latest, but no question about it, it is in the throes of this incredible electrification transformation.
Well, and I was going to ask you about that. Electrification still seems to be, right there. I mean, ready to move, and we're now starting to put in infrastructure, et cetera. Has fuel cell, has that technology dropped off the board?
Oh, no. I mean, I think it depends on the different OEM or vehicle manufacturer you're talking to on a global basis. They all have different philosophies about their propulsion systems. Clearly, electrification is the driving force right now. But, hydrogen and other forms of energy are being looked at. I think we're in the wild, wild west of technology right now with regards to how vehicles will be moved into the future. I think we're going to see tremendous advancement in batteries, but we're going to see, homes and places where hydrogen will be used in other forms.
Yeah, that battery technology, that's going to be a big industry. You're absolutely right. Glenn, let's talk about R&D through a period of like 20 and part of 21. That doesn't necessarily slow down. It's not as affected, I think. So let's talk about strides that were made there.
Sure.
New technologies come out of it?
Well, I think that, right now there's a lot of focus on manufacturing, particularly electric vehicle battery cell and battery pack manufacturing. And, Michigan has been and hopefully will be for a long time a center for advanced manufacturing. But, really where our growth is and where our potential for the future is going to be in the knowledge-based jobs. And this is where R&D, testing, innovation, research come into play. And when we look at what's going on in the vehicle industry right now, we see that the continuous autonomous vehicle development has backed off a little bit. It's still being pursued by the leaders, the Waymos and the Argos of the world. Electrification is accelerated. And then the shared use economy is also kind of taken a little bit of a step back because of the pandemic, the Uber Lyft models, but it's still being used. The real growth is in the data management. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of R&D go into the software development in the connected vehicle. And that's where we're going to see a lot of growth. And hopefully we'll see that in Michigan, provided we have the right talent to keep those jobs here and attract those jobs.
All right, so that leads me to 21. We just did the Future Business Index statewide, matter of fact, just Wednesday of this week. And number one issue, people, and in particular, qualified people. Are we going to be able to keep that industry here?
Well, I think that Michigan needs to look at a couple things here, what we need and what we have. And what I mean by what we have is we have not had an increasing population in Michigan. So we have a very mature workforce. We have a very low birth rates. We are not a net migration state, and we have declining number of high school graduates because of those factors. So we have to make sure that we are growing our own as much as possible and also attracting other people from other places. That's one thing. The second thing is, are we going to have the right jobs for the right people with the right digital skills? And that's across all things, from the factory floor to the connected vehicle. Digital skills and the knowledge-based economy is what's going to drive Michigan for the future.
All right. Well, it looks like we got some challenges in 22 coming up, but I can't think of anybody who I'd rather have meeting those challenges than Glenn Stevens Jr.
We're working on it. That's our job, is Michigan's future for our economy. So I appreciate the time to chat with you about it, Chris.
All right. You have a great holiday and a wonderful 22. Hey,
you too. Thank you.
All right, partner. Glenn Stevens Jr., Executive Director of MICHauto. We're going to be right back. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network.